Hi, fellow traders. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. We're gonna finish up this weekend with going over where I ended the week and where I ended the quarter. The month and the quarter. So next tomorrow, we're starting the second quarter. We're starting a brand new phase, and so we're just gonna kind of finish it out and close it out in this video. But I want to invite you guys out to our morning show. We do this every morning from 8:30 to 9, where I build my watch list and kind of talk about what I'm looking for in the market that day. I am back streaming it on YouTube, so you can check me out on YouTube live. But all you have to do is go to our website, averagejoetrader.com, and click on the morning show. It'll take you right to it. And on Wednesdays, we have Sneak Peek Wednesday, where you can spend the first 2 hours of the morning with us in chat. You get to see what we do every day pre-market, what we're doing to prepare for the open, and you're with us during the first hour of the open, which is usually the most active. So that's every Wednesday. Just make sure when you come into the morning show, just hang out and stay with us until about 10:30. All right, so this week was by far the worst week I've had in a very, very, very long time. I was actually thought I was going to be red this week. I don't look at my numbers every day. I don't add them up. I don't. That's not what I do because I can. I have a feeling of where I may be, but I don't like numbers to get into my head. And when I see it on paper, it adds validity to it and it makes it real. And as long as I don't see it, it's not really real. It's just speculation. And I'm strong enough not to trade on speculation. So I don't really look at the numbers. I knew they were going to be ugly. And this is probably as ugly as you ever want to see. But I haven't had a red week since 2015. And I've come close a lot of times, just like this week. But, you could tell these numbers are just plain ugly. $201.77 profit for the week. That's it. Only a 47% win rate. And the only way I was able to make a couple of dollars on this is one huge trade. That's it. That's the only way I was able to make any money this week is that one huge trade on AAIO. Um, but, I'll take it. 21 trades all together. 8 long trades, 13 short. I had 10 winning trades and 11 losing trades all together. I was right half the time on the long, just under half the time on the short. So this week was a struggle. And as I looked at this week and looked at what was going on, I realized that I was fighting the market all week. The market was trending up. I kept wanting to short every day. And you can do that. You can do that on pullbacks, and stuff like that. I can short the pullback, but you're not gonna get a whole lot of sustained moves because I'm trading counter trend of the market, and typically if you're a trend trader like I am, you're gonna want to trade with the market, and I just didn't do that. You can see a dismal $9.61 average trade net profit overall, negative on the long trades. Even though this was the week to take longs, I just didn't. I was just all discombobulated at what I was doing. So the average winning trade was 112.83, average losing trade 84. So this number is really too close, for comfort. But it was just a bad week. Just a bad week altogether. And you can see the chart here where I started here and I was inching down. Here, this day I was negative. And in the last 2 days, it kind of recovered a bit. But, you can see the sea of red in here. This sea of red. Now, this isn't all the trades from the week, but these are the last. This is from the 27th. You know, but what can you say? You pick up and you move on. You're gonna have weeks like this. If you trade, you're gonna have days like this. You're gonna have weeks like this. You just don't want to have months like this. So I'm at the point where I feel that I can adapt. If I have like a bad week or two, I can adapt and make sure that my month is not gonna suck. I'm not changing my strategies. I'm just adapting my strategies slightly so that they match what the market is going to give me. I'm still not going to chase the market. I'm still going to let the market come to me, but I'm going to meet it a little bit closer. All right, so here's my March profits. My goals going into March was a focus on 200 to 500 share positions. And my goal was to double the profits from February because I was going to trade twice the size. My profit in February, 38.45.17. Only got 41.32 this month. Trading more position sizes didn't come through. My win rate last week really killed it. I'm at 61%. And it was all because of what happened last week. And I'm at 60% on long and short trades. My average winning trade, 116. Average losing trade, 66. That's about where it needs to be. This closed up a little bit because of last week, but I'm still happy with the month. My average losing trade was still about half of my average winning trade. So that's not bad at all. My largest winning trade, 736.80, that was the stock that we got caught in the halt on, and it ended up working out very well for us. This is largest losing trade. I can't remember what ticker it was, but I had some larger losses versus larger winners because I doubled my position size, then I doubled my max loss. Unfortunately, on this trade, it seems like I quadrupled my max loss. So it was just a mistake in judgment, and I just have to leave it at that. It's stuff that I looked at that I know I have to fix going forward. So my first quarter profits, starting from January 1st to the end of last week, I'm up right at 9,800 bucks, 97.99.35. So what I'm looking at doing, my plan, I was thinking about just waiting and opening up my speed trader, kind of doing what I did the last time. But when I opened my speed trader account, at that time I was able to open it up with $10,000. And what I did was I didn't look to day trade out of it. I just opened it up, put the money there, and so it gave me a place to continue to add my money to it until I got to over 25K, or I was able to swing trade in it so that I could get in some swing trades and possibly help grow my account a lot quicker. But now I was looking at it, and you got to have 30 grand to open an account at Speed Trader now. So I started looking around, and IB was what came on my radar. So I'm looking at IB as possibly the one I'm going to open the account for. And yeah, I think you need 10 grand to open that. So hopefully in a couple of months I'll be able to open that account, and we'll start there, and we may take some swing trades in it, because once I open that account, then I'm going to start bringing swing trading into the chat room, and we'll be talking about swing trading. But we're not going to do it until I get to the point where I can open up another account and we can start, working that route. But the main thing is we need to focus on our day trading, focus on developing the skill, and that's what my first quarter focus was. Focus on trading small and demonstrate how you need to develop the skill. Because if you trade for skill, then you'll be able to count the bills. So you want to make sure that you get that skill down. And I'm gonna tell you, there was this guy who I started working with in December, and I'm probably telling the story too early, but I'll wait till I get to that point. This is a story that's gonna come up in a minute, and I talked to this guy after a couple of months. I talked to him this weekend, and it's pretty interesting. But I'll get to that in a second. But my goal for the first quarter was to get to 5K, so that second quarter I can start trading with 5K. Now this is what I did back in 2015. When I started in 2015, I started with the idea that I'm going to trade each month with 5 grand. If I make money, I'm going to wire it out. If I lose money, I'm going to try and get it back to 5 grand. But my goal was not to add to my account if I lost some money. But thankfully, once I started that, I never had to refund my account. After I had to refund it 5 times or so in 2014, by the end of 2014, I got up to 9,800 bucks. I pulled out 48. We had an awesome Christmas, and I had that 5K to start January 1st with. And I went through, and my blog is still there. When I started this, and my whole journey is documented. Warrior Trading did a video on me. It's still up. They're still marketing, what I did. And I'll never deny the fact that working with them and working with Mike and helping me refine my trading strategies is what got me to where I am. It's all about once you learn your strategies, working with somebody who can help you narrow your focus and make your trading a little bit more consistent, and help you get more out of your trades. So I started in January 1st with 5K. By October, I was up to 75 grand. I had made that. I had opened up my Speed Trader account, and I had started putting money in it. But the key was you have to take a certain percentage out for taxes. When you make money, when you make profit, when you pull money out, you better take money out for taxes. And you need to get with your accountant or your tax professional for them to tell you how much percentage you need to take out. I took out 40% because I wanted to have a tax refund at the end of, when I filed my taxes. And the way I had a refund is to pull out more than what I needed to pay, so that once I took care of my taxes, I would have some money coming back from me out of that account. That's just the way I did it. So you need to get with your tax professional, because I'm not in any position to recommend to you, how to handle your taxes. But the goal was start with 5K and to demonstrate how you have to take your time and develop the skill in trading to ensure your long-term success. That's the main thing. You have to develop your skill. If you don't develop your skill, it won't be long before you and your money are separated. All right, time. Now, this is something that is a sore spot for a lot of us. And the reason why I say that, one of the biggest questions I get, from people who are looking to join my community and that's interested in my service is, how long is it going to take me to do this? How soon can I start making money? Or how soon can I quit my job? So time is this big factor that just eats away at us as traders. And what I've got here, this is the definition of time. And I want you, how complicated does this make time seem? So time is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events that occur in apparently irreversible succession from the past through the present to the future. This means you can't get time back. Once it passes, you can't get it back. Okay, it's just a more complicated way of saying that. It's irreversible. As we start now and we go through the present, live the now, and as we continue to live in the future, we're not going to be able to get time back. And then it says it's a component quantity of various measurements used to sequence events, to compare the duration of events or the intervals between them, and to quantify rates of change of quantities in material reality or in a conscious experience. The reality is, as a day trader, time is very important to us. The time frame that we watch our charts on, or that we chart our trades, the time that we hold the trades, time is very, very important to us. But in physics, it's just a simple definition. Time is what a clock reads. It's like the clock we see here. Time is just what the clock reads. That's what time is. But it's a lot more complicated than that for us. And what happens, here's Einstein. This is what Einstein said. Time is actually relative and flexible. But according to Albert Einstein, he says the dividing line between past, present, and future is all an illusion. There's no division between the two. Okay, one thing that's absolute is that I'm living here in the United States. Some of you may be living in Europe. Some of you may be living in Asia, in other continents. But an hour here is the same as an hour there, if it's measured the same. That's it. What we perceive an hour to be, or what we perceive time to be, is only an illusion. It's whatever it is we make it out to be. We can set 60 minutes as an hour here. In China, they can set 60 minutes. They can set an hour to be 90 minutes. That could be their standard of time. And that's the time that they live off of. So, time is actually relative. Now, what happens to us is, and I've got this timeline of our life here. Obviously, I don't want my life to stop at 80. I want to keep going as far as I can. But this is just to create an effect that we have. Okay, you see, from here we're going in increments of 5, from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25. But look what happens when we get 30. Look at what happens. The same time interval is, we have the same space here between intervals, but look how fast the years pass. Guys, this is all in our mind. As we get older, we start wanting things quicker. We start feeling that we're running out of time and we want to do things as fast as we can. You know, those of us that are 40, 50 years old, we look at all this time that has passed and look at the relatively short amount of time we have in the future. Now, let's flip this. What if we what if we had a chart where everything was in five year increments? Okay, how much further out is these last 30 years going to be? It's going to be twice as long. Okay, so it's all how we view it. It's all how we perceive it. So we have to get out of that. I need to learn this quick. I need to get this done as fast as I can because I'm running out of time and I only have X amount of time left. Because this is how we see it. As we get older, we see ourselves as getting further away from the beginning and closer to the end. And it's all how we perceive it. We can perceive the end further than the beginning if we want to. You know, it's all how we perceive it. And the story I was going to tell you was I started working with this guy in December, and he's like, I really want to learn this trading. You know, I like your story. I read your blog, and I want to do the same thing you did. Okay, but unfortunately, he felt that having 3 sessions and meeting with me over a couple of weeks would help him skip the 2.5 years it took me to get to where I am, or to get to where I could start doing this full time. And it didn't work. So he gets mad at me and goes and joins some other group, and he's like emailing me every week for like 3 weeks saying, man, I made this and it's great, and man, I made that and it's great. And then the email stopped. And a couple months passed, and I get an email from him, and he's apologizing, saying that I wish I had listened to you. I this just looked too good, and I followed him, and it worked great. And then I started losing money, and I didn't know how to get myself back on track because I was just following this guy, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry it happened to you, but the reality is you cannot predict how long it's going to take you to learn how to trade. You can't. It takes time. And you have to get this thing out of your mind that I'm getting older and I need to do it as fast as I can. When you start thinking that and you start looking at time like this, that the end is very close and the beginning is so far away, then you're going to start messing yourself up. You're going to start rushing, and you're never going to take the time that you need to invest in yourself, invest in this, because this is very lucrative. It's going to be here forever. Even if the market crashes, if you know what you're doing, you can make money. Now, there are people that made money when the market crashed. It was the people that knew what the hell they were doing. They had the skill. And if you do, and if the market crashes, you'll be able to make money on it. It may not be as active, and you may not be able to make as much every day, but it's going to be there. So just forget about the time. Forget about how long it's taking you to become profitable. Take your time and learn this. Develop the skill. Because again, if you develop the skill, then in the end, you'll be able to count the bills. And you'll continue to count them. As they keep coming in, you'll continue to count them. And what burns me up, and what really one of the deciding factors for me to start the services that I started and start my community, is that I got sick and tired of seeing people get sucked in by the hype, by communities telling them you can learn this in 3 months. You can be a, a consistently profitable trader in 90 days, or you can be a consistently profitable trader in 120 days. You know, just give me your money, take my class, and you have everything you need. It doesn't work that way. Some people can do this and in 2 months be on the road to success. Some people it may take 2 years. Okay, it took me a while before, it took me a long time before I was able to get to the point where I could quit my job and I could do this full time. You know, and I've been doing this for over a year full time. It took me 2.5 years to get to the point where I could do this. But I knew, I didn't look at, well, you know what? I'm probably over half my life now. I'm on the short side of it, and I better hurry up and do this. No, that's not what I did. I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it right. And if I only have 5 years of my life left after I finish, I accomplished this. And I'm going to leave a legacy, and I'm going to leave something for my family. And, you know, that's what it's all about. So you guys have to really, really get out of this illusion of time, and take your time. Be patient and learn this, because the patience that you develop learning this is the patience that's going to carry over into trading. And a lot of people are mesmerized by how patient I can be in trades. And it's all because of the patience and everything I developed as I was learning how to trade. That's what it's all about. And that's why I teach what I teach. And that's why I teach it the way I teach it. And why, you know, I showed from the beginning of the year how you had to develop slow. You trade small. You don't worry about making $30 or $40 trades. You worry about developing the skill, learning how to determine your entries, your stops, learning how to determine the proper profit targets so you can lock in profits on a trade that may not even follow through. So all of this is tied into our perception of we're running out of time and we need to do things quick and we need to get this thing done as fast as possible. That is the mentality that we have to get out of. All right, so real quick, here's an overview of the services that I have. The chat room, I've got a trading psychology class. We've got the day trading class that has started up already. I'm going to have another one starting up here in a few. So I'll be announcing that when it starts, or when I get a start date for it, which will probably be in a couple of weeks. And I still have the mentoring. This is where it all started for me. So just go to my website, averagejoetrader.com, and look under services. You'll be able to see everything that I offer. Here's my contact information, my social media. The best email to get me at is ed@averagejoetrader.com. That's the one I'm at. I monitor 24/7. My Gmail account, I do monitor it throughout the day, but the ed@averagejoetrader.com, that's my main email now. So if you need me, contact me there. Skype me, send me a tweet. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm going to start putting more content on Facebook. And I'm in the process of converting my not my Snapchat. That's the biggest crave now with kids. But my not Snapchat. What's the other one? Um Instagram. So I'll be having that up, and stock tweets. So I'm working on those two this weekend. So probably next week on this page you'll see those as well. So I hope everybody has a great week. Don't forget, if you're not in the community, just come join us. Check us out. on our morning show every morning and on Sneak Peek Wednesday. We'll be glad to have you. And as always, any questions, comments, please reach out and I'll be glad to help you. All right, we'll see you in the morning.